everyone. My name is Kristen Lampkin. I also go by the HR Guru, and I am the CEO and founder of HR Guru. What I do is help people elevate their careers through their LinkedIn and their resume. I am so excited to be here moderating a conversation. I do also still work in corporate America, and my specialty is diversity and inclusion and equity, talent, management, a little bit of everything. But we are here today to talk with the amazingly talented Blair Milo, who currently serves as the state of Indiana's first Secretary for Career Connections and Talent. Please welcome Blair Milo.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's such a treat to be able to join you. You're doing amazing things, and so awesome to be able to join this group today.
Thank you. Well, why don't you give them a little bit info on you, Blair, so they can learn about how amazing you are.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm sure if you asked my older brother, he would probably question that amazing piece a little bit. But I have the opportunity to serve as Indiana's first Secretary of Career Connections and Talent. I've been in the post actually for now about 3 years. And it was a position created to be able to reach across the state and really across different agencies to think about how we attract, develop, and connect talent. And, you know, at the time we were looking at over 1 million job openings that we were needing to be able to fill across the state of Indiana in the next 10 years. You know, certainly the last few months have forced us into trying to keep track of what that all looks like now as the economy is certainly dynamic, to say the least. And we have continued to see, I think, great opportunities and certainly some challenges that have come along with that. But I have the great blessing of getting to serve with amazing leaders within education, economic development, local government, and just a whole host of different ways to think about how we help serve Indiana's talent pipelines and ensure people are able to connect up with opportunities.
Well, thank you, and thank you for what you're adding to the community. And I'm excited to have this dialogue, and I'm sure people are wondering what's next, what are the trends, and also really just to learn more about the rapid recovery portfolio. I think that's going to be something that maybe others aren't aware of, and we want to make sure we're educating and sharing what are those resources that the rapid recovery portfolio is offering. So let's get started with that.
Sure, absolutely. So Rapid Recovery offers some of the tools that we have had in our toolbox, but really expands upon what's been working. And so we have that, I hope folks have had a chance to hear a little bit about something called Next Level Jobs, which was launched, I guess probably actually around 3 years ago, and it has a couple different components, one being a Workforce Ready grant where people who are interested in receiving a certification in an industry area that's got lots of growth, great wages associated with the kinds of growth opportunities available there, that they can receive certificates from some of our training institutions, whether it's Ivy Tech or Vincennes University. We actually have, it's opened up to a number of different training providers across the state to get people those certifications 100% tuition free. That's actually now been expanded to have even more certificates that are associated with that. Many of the different programs are, 8 to 12 week types of courses, a lot of flexible hours associated with those. There's in-person options, there's online options. And with some of the CARES Act money that we've been able to put towards this, then it's able to go towards some of the different types of fees, like technology fees or lab fees type things like that. So it actually expands even beyond some of the tuition support in many cases. So wanted to mention that piece of things. There's an employer training grant that also had been a part of Next Level Jobs. And with the rapid recovery efforts with CARES money, we've been able to expand that for an employer in our high wage, high demand industries, of which those are business and IT, advanced manufacturing, healthcare and life sciences, business, or I mentioned business and IT, construction and trades, and transportation and logistics. And then for the employer training grant, we also include agriculture. So any business that falls within those industry areas can receive up to $5,000 per individual that's being trained, and that can be a new hire or somebody that actually is an incumbent employee that's going to receive a higher wage as a result of the training, that they can get that reimbursed up to $5,000 per individual. Then that's capped now at $100,000 per employer. Previously it was at 50. Now we've doubled it up to 100,000 with the rapid response recovery resources there. And I would encourage anybody that is looking to be able to connect up to some of these different resources, whether they're education resources, employment resources, or really, you know, maybe there are some other questions that people are having to think about before they can get to that point that, you know, they may have to be thinking about. There's unemployment insurance questions that folks may have, childcare questions, where to access healthcare, that with the portal that we launched as a part of Rapid Recovery, and it's yournextstepin.org. So yournextstepin.org. It's kind of hard to say that all really quickly. Is a great, it's a portal to make it easier to kind of navigate all these different pieces and figure out what might be the right next path for you, whether you're individual looking for some of those different employment or education supports, or an employer who may be looking to be able to connect with some of those different resources. That we wanted to make it easier to find all of them through that portal at yournextstepin.org.
And I love how you have it like a one-stop shop, right? So they don't have to go to multiple different resources. It's all on that page for you all. And kudos to you on really figuring out ways to help people, because I think this is going to really encourage a lot of our audience and those that are around them to share this, right? Because you don't often hear that there are resources that can help you develop skills, get training during a time where we're dealing with like a double pandemic, right? And so thank you for sharing that. And it's so exciting about the training, and from an HR perspective and hearing about the different trends. All of the training areas that you named is exactly where I'm seeing opportunities of people getting opportunities in the tech space, in manufacturing, agriculture. Like those are areas that are truly still hiring right now, even during COVID. So I know this is so encouraging. Thank you for sharing the training and what type of industries for employers as well as employees to have.
Sure. Well, and it's such a team effort in so many different ways. And I know many of the other speakers that are a part of InnoPower have been a part of that. And so a huge thank you to the entire community and sort of ecosystem, who are all doing just amazing pieces within this to make it all work, to your point of being able to make this all come together so it's easier for the person to be able to access this, whether it's Ivy Tech or Vincennes University, and the folks at the Commission on Higher Education, the folks at Unemployment Insurance. Everybody's been trying to work together to figure out how do we make this easier, because we know there's a lot of tough things that people are dealing with right now, and so can we hopefully make these resources easier to access, easier to utilize, and get these resources out into the hands of people who can use them. And as you mentioned, it's amazing to watch some of the growth that's happening in many of our different sectors. I was just on a call earlier this week with some folks from the RV industry area, and the RV industry, as you know, is a result of people wanting to still kind of travel in a different way that's safer. There's been a huge boom within the RV industry, and so they're trying to just do everything they can to keep up with the kind of demand that they're seeing.
Exactly. Well, Blair, as we think about this and we talk about career connections and talent, what's next for you all?
Well, we're continuing to try and build upon this theme of getting all the different parts connected. And so some of the work that Career Connections and Talent specifically has been focused on has been through a vehicle we call a 21st Century Talent Regions. And that's where we've had multiple regions across the state earn the designation as a 21st Century Talent Region. And in order to do so, then it's bringing together partners from all across the region, that you got to have representation from the business sector, from education, both K-12 and higher ed, from local government, from nonprofits, economic development, and workforce development, at least, to all come together and talk through how are we attracting, developing, and connecting talent, and doing so from a data-driven perspective, and really trying to dig into understanding kind of where we are right now, and then looking at what some of our projected demand is in various different industries. Now we know that that's certainly changing. It's a dynamic time right now, and we're certainly seeing a lot of change that's coming forward with some of the different technology, but we can plan for some of those different pieces. And so then we think through, okay, if we've got a sense of where we are right now, we can look to know whatever pieces we can at least know about the future, and think through, here we are, here's where we need to be. How do we connect the dots? What is it that we need to do to ensure that we're attracting, developing, and connecting the talent, and doing so in an equitable fashion so that we're really trying to reach all populations, make sure everybody has the opportunities to take advantage of these great career areas that we do see growing, but oftentimes people just aren't aware of, let alone then connecting up with the skills to be able to slot into some of these different areas. So how do we pull all those pieces together? And that's what some of our work with the 21st Century Talent Regions has been able to do, is bringing all the different great partners who are doing these different aspects of making the talent system work to come together in a team approach, so that then everybody's all on the same page and working towards goals that they set for themselves. And so we've designated, I believe now, 8 regions, or soon to be 8 regions, and are continuing to work with 4 more, I actually think now 5 more across the state. And so that's been a key focus for us, of really trying to emphasize the power of collaboration, and bringing everybody together around common goals that you set for yourselves, and being able to work as a team.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I think you're right. One of the things I often hear is that people don't know that there are resources out there, right? And so it's great that you all are coming together with your other collaborative partners and figuring out, how can we get this out there to the audience that we want to know about it? And how can we help them understand how to apply and get it done? So thank you for sharing that. And I can definitely see the passion that you have for this. What ignited your passion for talent and job opportunities? Like what got Blair there?
I am a bit of a nerd about a lot of these different pieces, and so I read a lot of articles and things. And I guess it really started, prior to serving in this capacity. I had the opportunity to serve as the mayor of LaPorte, Indiana. Many may know it as the hub of awesome. And the challenge that we were running into was that, as awesome as LaPorte was and is, that we were growing a lot of different jobs across the community, but we were really struggling to connect with getting people into those jobs. And that led me to want to better understand what's happening, why. I thought that the whole challenge was you got to grow jobs and then people take them, and we all go on our successful ways. And I couldn't understand what's the disconnect here, especially when everything I was hearing about these jobs is that these are good paying jobs and they're actually pretty interesting. And so as I learned more about this process, I was realizing they're different than the types of work that we've seen previously. And so there have been these disconnects in people knowing, number one, that they exist, and then number two, that then they're getting the skills to be able to take advantage of them. And then there are, some different kinds of barriers that exist in people being able to connect up with those education or employment types of opportunities. And so just trying to work our way back from there, of figuring out how do we better make this connection. And at the end of the day, what drives my full passion for workforce is just thinking about what it means when someone is able to work in a successful, in a career area that is fulfilling for them, whatever that may be. Mm-hmm. And, for people who enjoy, all of the STEM types of curriculum, of like people who enjoy math and working with their hands, to be able to feel the satisfaction and the self-confidence that I think that comes from knowing that you earned your success as a part of whatever that career area may be. And so that's, I think, what really drives my passion, is really wanting to have everyone feel the opportunity to connect up with a career where they feel empowered and successful because of knowing that they earned that, whatever that career area is that they're engaged in.
Yeah, and I think that you're right, the empowered piece, right? Instead of something being given to someone, when they know they've earned it and they've put the work in, it just gives you a different type of satisfaction and allows you to work even harder in whatever your job or your position is or your industry. So definitely agree 100% with that. So as we're talking about the job market, what do you think, like, how can we advance like the job market to have more opportunities with the current crisis of COVID and also racial injustice, like a double pandemic we have going on right now? How can we advance the job markets?
Well, and I think that's where sharing some information around, what kinds of changes that we're seeing, making sure that people have insight into those different kinds of opportunities. And really that's a lot of where our rapid recovery resources are trying to focus on, is ensuring that you can get those different kinds of skill building experiences in a way that is accessible, so that then we've removed financial barriers for folks to be able to access some of those training pieces. And I should have mentioned before that one of the changes with the Workforce Ready grant is that individuals who already have a degree are actually eligible now as well. That had previously been one of the criteria that didn't provide eligibility, but we know that people who have degrees have also been displaced as a result of some of the challenges, and so they can access these resources as well. And so I think utilizing some of these resources can be really, really powerful for individuals and for businesses to be able to connect up with the kind of talent that they're looking for. And so we need to continue sharing the awareness of the tools and the opportunities. And to your point about some of the inequality challenges that we're seeing, we have to think differently about how we're communicating these kinds of opportunities. And that's something that I know our rapid recovery team has really been focused on, of just thinking, what are the different ways that we can, do we need to craft our message differently? What are the barriers that people may be experiencing that we just haven't been able to consider as a part of some of the conversations? And do we need to put more focus on some of those areas? And that's where we really try to really emphasize an outreach effort to not only, like I said, better share the awareness about opportunities and the resources, but also have a feedback loop of what is it that we need to be thinking about differently, because there is clear disparity that the data shows us with unemployment numbers, with median household income types of numbers. And so how do we think about better getting that information out, and hopefully better developing relationships for the long term to ensure that there is continued sharing of information and resources, and having all voices at the table to be a part of designing that outreach effort and the programs all along the way.
Definitely. Thank you for sharing that, and kind of even looking at it from two different lenses. So I know one thing that people are probably wondering too, like these trainings, you talked about some of the areas, but what's the most interesting industry that you've seen the most opportunities in?
That's hard for me to pick, because and I know that sounds like probably such a cop-out answer, but it truly is that one of the things I'm so grateful for in this position is the chance to see a lot of different industry areas. And even for areas that I might not have necessarily considered to be an interest area of me, I just get so fascinated with all the cool stuff that's coming forward with the technology. Yeah. I mean, when you look at agriculture and the kinds of tech pieces that are being integrated into the machinery that they use, how they upload data around different kinds of conditions of all the different things that they're doing, just blows my mind. And I mean, so it's all these different things that are coming forward that I just never even knew were were a thing, let alone a thing that we did in Indiana. Another one that comes to mind is thinking about like the insurance industry has, of which like the northeast portion of our state actually has a lot of work within like specialty insurance, which again, I didn't know was a thing, let alone a thing that we did here. And they have folks that are drone technicians to be able to do liability coverage and reviews and assessments of different incidents using drones in really interesting kinds of applications. That one example I heard about was when there was the fire at the Notre Dame Cathedral, that then they had to fly out a technician from Indiana to go and operate the drone to be able to do the insurance review for what happened. So that kind of stuff, I'm like, this is incredible. Of the things that happen within advanced manufacturing.
Like we don't know that maybe this technical piece is needed to help something operate or something that we use daily. I'm sure you're getting a lot of exposure to that. So thank you for sharing that. And I want to make sure we have time for questions as well. So I'm going to ask you one last question, and then we'll move into Q&A with the audience. What is one thing you want to leave the audience with, or a few tidbits that you want to leave them with?
Yeah. I think that I would just encourage everyone, particularly at this moment, as so much is changing around us, to think about, you know, not letting previous barriers stop us from, you know, individual pursuits that you're looking towards, or ways that we can be improving opportunity for all. And I know that we all want to be, we all being the Rapid Recovery Team, the Governor's Workforce Cabinet that I have the opportunity to serve on, that we all want to be a part of driving long-term solutions, and wanting to work with everyone towards what those can all be, and having people speak into those kinds of experiences and what we could be building together. And so, you know, I open it up to if there's anything that we can be doing to assist you. We offered up some information about the resources that we have with Rapid Recovery. But, you know, I'm happy to, if anybody wants to email me, call our office, then would love to continue engaging with you on what are things that we can sort through to think about how we move you and your businesses forward.
Well, Joe actually had a comment shared. It's always a matter of finding the opportunities that have value in the marketplace and are meaningful to you as an individual. Completely agree. I mean, doing your passion doesn't feel like work, right? When you're doing something you're passionate about, it gives you more energy. So definitely appreciate that. And then he has an idea. Maybe there's an opportunity for some kind of job fair to expose people, like virtually, maybe to expose people to some of these new career opportunities. As you said, there are interesting jobs that many don't know even exist.
Absolutely. And actually the Department of Workforce Development has been doing some different types of virtual job fairs. I actually just earlier this week heard about that they were doing a type of drive-up job fair that was focused in some different types of regions. We started brainstorming around what could that look like for certain industry areas. And so, you know, welcome the opportunity to have employers participate in any of that. And I know the Department of Workforce Development and all of the work ones, and then the work ones are a part of regional workforce boards that for Central Indiana, Employ Indy is the workforce board. And you know, I know that they would welcome having engagement with any employers who are wanting to participate in that, and any individuals. Then a lot of folks have been doing some different kind of creative models and continuing to try and reimagine what job fairs can look like. So I appreciate that input, Joe.
Yeah, thanks, Joe, for that. Amy said, Blair, love your passion. Thank you for your service. So RuPaul had a good question. I know we talked earlier about the employer training grant. She asked, are there any other grant programs for minorities that you're aware of within, you know, your organization?
Well, with the employer training grant, there is actually a specific set aside of funds that are dedicated for women, minority, and veteran business owners. And so I believe that for the employer training grant, there's, I think, 25 million total that has been set aside for different grants. And 5 of that has been dedicated for minority, women, and veteran-owned businesses. And I tried to pull the numbers earlier, and there's 2 million of the 5 that is set aside for the minority, women, and veteran-owned businesses that's still available. So would love to be, if you can all help us get that word out, that we want to make sure that folks are able to take advantage of that. I should mention as well that with any of the CARES Act programs, so with our rapid recovery tools, those all have to be allocated by the end of this year. So we're trying to work as feverishly as possible to get people connected up with those resources. I do know that the IEDC and the Small Business Development Center also have some restart grants and different types of funds that are set aside for supporting minority, women, and veteran businesses. So those are available. And then, you know, we're trying to ensure as many people as possible can get connected up with the training and education pieces. And we've got some handouts to be able to share. So if anybody's got, you know, different types of groups that you think we could share that information with, that we'd be happy to share the link to a toolbox we created that has all these different handouts. So if you could help us get the word out, we would really appreciate that, and make sure that folks have more insight about the access to these different resources.
Awesome. One of the questions, which is a good one, do you have to be registered as a minority-owned business to qualify for the employer training grant?
So you don't have to be registered to qualify for the employer training grant. It does allow us to then be able to connect you in with the different kind of set-asides of money. And so with the money, the total 25, like 19 of it has been allocated for out of like the general pot. So there's less available within that general pot at the moment because of the kind of response that we've seen from businesses. So there are still some resources available from that pot, but in order to be able to access that 5 million, then you do have to be certified minority, women, veteran-owned business.
Are there funds available for nonprofits as well? That was one of the other questions.
You know, I'd have to go and check on what some of the IEDC's resources are with supporting like different types of businesses. I know that the like PPP applied to nonprofits as well. I'm not as familiar with whether some of our business components had that inclusion as well. I can check. As far as the resources within rapid recovery, the employer training grant goes to, you know, employers who are within whatever sector. So if you're a nonprofit that works within those sectors that I mentioned of advanced manufacturing all the way to agriculture, business, all those things. So if your nonprofit works in some way with supporting those industry areas and you're an employer, I think that there's ways to be able to utilize some of those resources.
Awesome. Well, we are having to wrap up because there are a few questions, but definitely I put the website for you all to go to because all the resources and information is available there. So next up, they're having a session, Together We Are Stronger, Uniting Indiana Minority Business Communities. And so we have a dynamic panel that will be featured for that. So if you all have any questions, further questions like Blair shared, feel free to reach out to her office. They'll be more than happy to answer your questions. We appreciate your time. Blair, thank you for such an amazing session and fireside chat. The work you all are doing is inspiring and great resources. I can't wait to share with my network, and it's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Well, thanks so much for having me and for the conversation. I'm trying to actually just put my email address in the chat here
Yes.
so that then everybody will have access to it. So it's just secretary@cct.in.gov. So please reach out if there's anything that we can be of assistance to you all with. So thank you so much, Kristen, for all you're doing and for
Oh,
the great
thank you.
conversation today.
I enjoyed it as well. You all enjoyed the rest of the conference. It's today and tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.